Good afternoon, everyone, especially to our beautiful teacher, Ma'am Venus Avenedo, and we are Group 8, and I am the first reporter of Group 8 and from the introductory part. And our topic that we discuss is all about Aristotle's philosophy of man. Okay, let's start. Our learning outcomes is all about, at the end of this lesson, you will be able to define man and his earthly existence. Second, recognize one's knowledge through experience, success, and utilize reason as philosophical ideas in daily living. Okay, what is philosophy? Philosophy is derived from two Greek words philos and philia, meaning love, and sophia, meaning wisdom. Literally, philosophy means love of wisdom. Okay, here is the explanation about, philia, this one, philia is called love, and sophia means wisdom, and it is love of wisdom. Okay, I will explain about the love. What is love? Strong desire for a particular object. So it means that sa love is kiligon ka, right? O makakita niya. Diba? Just like dili ka mahimutang if naa siya, right? Just like that, the example of you have a strong desire for that particular object. You have seen your crush, so di ka mahimutang kiligon jud kag-ayo sa mo na siya. And then, wisdom, correct application of knowledge. So it means that you decide, ang decide mo nga maayo is called wisdom, right? And for example, na kay ganahan nga kanon, pero supposedly you don't have enough, you don't have money. So what can you do? Imo bang pangayoon or imong kawaton? So you to decide to yourself. You have a correct application of that. What can you do? So nara nimo. So it means so para sa ako na ko correct application. So ako siyang pangayoon. It's because nakaibog ko lang ang pagkauna. So ganahan ko kaon, so I will pangayoon lang is better to pangayoon ng Diyos. So, next. Philosophy, science that studies beings and their ultimate causes, reasons and principles through the aid of human reason alone. Being or beings, all things that exist, material or immaterial. So, the example of material is the car, the people in the world, the rock, the trees. So these are the example of materials. So in material, it means that materials that we can see in our naked eye, like the car and a house also, trees, people in the world, just like that. That's the material. And the immaterial, the notions of God, soul, and spirit, it means that in material, even though we cannot see it, but we can feel, just like our God, soul, and spirit. We cannot see it, but we can feel. So here is the real definition of philosophy. It is a search for meaning. The word search means to look, to find, to seek. This connotes something more serious and intense. It is a quiz. Just like what I've said a while ago, that bisag imposible nga mga, even if it is an impossible question, but we need to find an answer. For example, nganong na ay Ginoo? Disagi kan ang Ginoo. Why why is it why God exists, and this through this even though if it is an impossible question, but we need to find answer, we need to look an answer. Okay, that's it now. So when we say intense, so when we say quiz, so it means that it is a challenging or intense question, or lisod siya explain. For example, kining kahoy, this one, kining kahoy, giunsa man ni paghimo ang kahoy. So, giunsa pagkuha ang tubig gikan sa kahoy, or sa giunsa pagkuha ang tubig gikan sa yuta, or giunsa paghimo ang bunga, or giunsa kini pag-process. So that's an impossible question. So we need to look for an answer. So that is the real definition of philosophy. Searching in philosophy is more of a quiz. It is which is of value to the subject. It traces the essential meaning of beings. So as what I say a while ago, that philosophy is more of a quiz. It is a very challenging question. It is a difficult question to you need to look or to find, even if it is an impossible question. No, if it impossible question, and we need to look for an answer. Okay, Aristotle, philosophic wonder. Aristotle writes, "For men were firstly to study philosophy, as ended they are today by wonder. Now he who is perplexed and wonders believes himself to be ignorant. They talk to philosophy to escape ignorance." It means that even though it means that so walay philosophy, so ang mga question na to is that dili siya matubag, right? Walay mga answer, and also innocenti, we are innocent right now. Philosophy also is very useful in our daily lives. So next is philosophy as a concept. Philosophy is a system of beliefs about reality. It is once integrated with the world. It includes an understanding of the nature, existence, man, and its role in the world. It is a necessary product of man's rational mind. According to Zurita 2010, philosophy makes man think about the basic foundations of his outlook in life, his knowledge, and his beliefs. So it means that philosophy as a concept, this is all about your own understanding, right? Or your own perception about the things or about your idea. For example, about the car, your idea or perception of that to a car is that it is a mechanic, it is a man-made, it is a plan with a fuel, there's a fuel. So it is our perceptions or understanding about the car. So that's it, and I hope you understand well about the philosophy of man. And for the further explanation for about philosophy by Lina Dunyo. And God bless everyone, and have a good day.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am the second reporter, and my assigned topic is Ethics as the Art of Living Well. Based on the idea that life is better if moral principles are observed. Hence, the art of living well is the ability to enjoy life and skillfully beautifying one's life or making our lives more pleasant. Eudaimonia is the condition of human flourishing or of living well, in other words, happiness. Happiness must be self-sufficient, outcomes and great, long-lasting and consistent. Happiness is self-sufficient because we cannot wait for someone to make us happy. We must learn to make ourselves happy because at least we don't need to depend on someone else. And of course, happiness is an outcomes and great. If outcomes in our conditions are great and perfect well, then that will make us happy. And happiness is long lasting and consistent. Aristotle assumes that any activity, practical or theoretical, aims towards some end or good. However, these ends are still provisional goals to another goal. Every skill, every choice, every action you take pursues some intermediate end and intermediate good. But eventually, all the actions you take in your life are leading to some final end, and that final end is happiness or eudaimonia. For example, you eat breakfast and lunch. You eat breakfast or lunch to satiate your hunger. Well, why are you doing that? You're setting your hunger so you'll have energy to go to school and study. And why are you going to school and study? So you can gain knowledge and gain degree and pursue your career path and have a stable life where you have the amount of money you need to live and pursue other important activities. So each step along the way, we see those are good things, like nourishing your body, going to school, getting your degree, getting a career, having stable life, having some money. All those things are good. But what makes them good? Why are they good? Because they help you move closer to what the final end or purpose of human life is, and so whatever the final purpose is, which is he told happiness or eudaimonia. Also, Aristotle is interested in finding out what all our lives essentially and ultimately aim to. The chief good for the human person must not be something one aims at for the sake of something else. Aristotle names the chief good for the human person as happiness or eudaimonia. Eudaimonia is sought for its own sake. Eudaimonia is an activity of the soul in accordance with virtue. Just like, for example, in class, you can tell that the honor students are more virtuous because you can see in their output that they actually did well, and compared to those of the lazy ones, they exerted more efforts. Of course, they applied their virtues which the lazy people did not have. That's why they failed. And it is not achieved by one grand act or one big decisions, for it is something one constantly strives for. Thus, happiness is a lifelong activity. It is something one does and not merely who or where someone is. And now, in order for us to fulfill our purpose in eudaimonia, we must live a virtuous life, which is a virtuous can hold us in becoming a better person. If we become a better person, we can raise a good life or a family, which will lead to an overwhelming happiness and satisfactions. And that's
Hi everyone, good afternoon. This is me. Marvin Sumingit Makan, and I am from the BSED Math 3. So basically, I am going to continue the report of my colleagues. This is the continuation of that report. So my report is all about the soul. The soul according to Aristotle, according to his definition. According to him, Aristotle postulates that happiness is an activity of the soul. That's what he said. And according to him, soul is part of the human being that animates the body. Body and soul are inseparable. That is his theory. And the soul is composed of both rational and irrational elements. So what are these rational and irrational elements? The rational and irrational elements are both divided into two parts. So the rational part of the soul is this one. The first part of the rational soul is the speculative or the responsible for knowledge. This speculative soul is concerned with pure thought and is essentially the base of contemplation. So if you have some knowledge, if you have some ideas or norms about some certain topic, the speculative soul, according to Aristotle, is the responsible of that one. So the second one is the practical or the responsible for choice and action. So in charge of action and the practical determination of the proper means to attain a specific end. So according to him, if we undergo some choices or we undergo some decisions about some certain things, the responsible for that is the practical soul in relation with the rational. Then the second one is the irrational part of the soul. It's also divided into two parts. The first one is the vegetative, or is in charge of the nutrition and growth of the human being. As I said earlier, according to him, body and soul are inseparable to each other. That means the body is also need of some nutrition, so as well as the soul. So vegetative is the responsible for the nutrition and growth of the human being. So this part of the soul takes care of all involuntary functions of the human body, from breathing to digestions and the like. So for example, breathing, hearing, and other parts of our body that functions involuntarily, it is part of the vegetative soul, or in the irrational part of the soul. Then the second one is the appetitive soul. However, in the appetitive part, according to him, shares in the rational element in the soul. It cannot itself reason, but it does share in the rational element in that it can be influenced by it. Ana siya. So, both pasabot daw ko no, the appetitive can be influenced by the vegetative part of the soul. Why? Ngano ka nga pwede siya influence lang man siya. Kaya tungod, ang kanimanggong appetitive o vegetative is mostly alike to each other naman siya. Kinahanglan naman siya sa usag-usa. So for example, this one. The passions such as sexual urges and desire for wealth and recognitions are quite difficult to control. So they are quite difficult to control. Then let us go back to the definition of the vegetative, which part of the human body that functions involuntarily, like breathing and other forms and other examples. So makapare-pareha lang sila ani, pero diri lang kaning passion such as sexual urges and desire for wealth is part lang ni siya sa appetitive soul, nga kung sa imong sexual orientation, whether you are bisexual, gay, lesbian, boy or a girl, or part of the LGBTQ, so part ni siya diri. Then a desire for wealth, di ba, lahi-lahi man tao desire for wealth. Some has a desire na mayon ta nga ang ako ang meaning definition of wealth kay kinahanglan na ako'y millions of dollars in my bank account. Pero mayon po nang uban, I am wealthy enough if only I have some money that can only made us survive. Diba, makaingon ta nga nalang ko'y kwarta nga makapakaon ng nako, makapalit lang ko sa akong gusto, in that I am wealthy. So part na siya danahan, the recognitions are quite too difficult to control. And that would be all for me. Thank you. God bless everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ross Clarky Amachaga. And now let's proceed to our next topic, which is the continuations of Marben's report. We become temperate by doing temperate acts. We become courageous in doing courageous acts. We learn to be temperate by acting temperately. We gain courage by performing daring things. So kita makahimo sa pagpugong sa kaugalingon, pinaagi sa moderate nga mga buhat. O kita mahimong maisugon sa pagbuhat sa maisugon nga mga buhat. The foundation of moral goodness, according to Aristotle, it is an action and habit. Aristotle defines moral virtues as a state of characters that enable a person to perform his or her rightful function as a human being. So kahimtang kini sa kinaiya sa usa ka tawo nga makahimo sa pagbuhat sa iyang katungdanan isip usa ka tawo. These personality traits aim for a balance between excess and deficiency, which means the proper reaction in such situation. Aristotle emphasizes a particular consistency or constancy in one's character which confronted with virtuous situation. So naghatag siya o gibug-aton particular sa kinaiya sa katawo once nga mag-atubang siya sa lain-lain nga mga sitwasyon. Consistency is not stagnancy. So ang kalig-on sa usa ka tawo dili parihas sa pagkamakanunayon. He is implying that a good person is incapable of adapting to changing circumstances. Sa iyang gipasabot nga ang usa ka maayong tawo dili makahimo sa pagsagop sa nabag-o nga mga kahimtang. Aristotle does not merely point to a mathematical man such that 6 would be the mean in a scale of 1 to 10. It is a mean that is relative. He means that depending on the particular circumstances of a person, the mean would correspond to the most appropriate response given the demands of the situation. Kini nagpasabot nga base sa kahimtang sa usa ka tawo, ang buot ipasabot is mutakdo sab or acceptable yang answer sa given the situation's demand. Next, these are the examples that depends on the particular circumstances of a person. So if you have a friend decide at around 10 a.m. to meet in a mall to watch a movie at 2 p.m., several things have to be considered when you try and decide how much time you will give yourself to prepare to avoid being late and show respect for your friend's time. First, the travel time from your house to the mall. Next, how much time it usually takes you to take a shower and get clothed. Next, other appointments you might have to attend to before going to the mall. Then the mode of transportation we'll use to get to the mall. The location of the cinema relative to the entrance door of the mall. If you are typically slow and sluggish in making preparations, if there are another shops you plan to visit for meeting your friend, and if you have a physical disability which would make travel challenging, and the last your mode on that day. So, many other things may be added to this list. The point is that it is not merely a matter of finding the mathematical mean between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., which would then be 12 o'clock, that determines the time you should allot yourself to prepare your meeting being without late. A virtuous person neither prefers too early nor too late, not only in terms of the actual time, The time or preparation is actually determined by his/her reckoning of the demands of the situation and his/her relative standing to it as an individual. The mean is not the fixed point but rather a moving target. So, applied to the previous example, if you're planning to meet your friend at the mall at 2 p.m., you have to take into account not just logistic matters. And that's all for my task this afternoon. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Nodeline Roseliosa. I am BS Ed Math. So this day, I will continue the report of my co-reporter. So, practical wisdom or phronesis is the intellectual virtue responsible for bringing the human person closer to his or her chief good in the realm of morality. It aids one in being happy, or it guides the human person in choosing the mean between the extremes of excess and deficiency. Phronesis is an intellectual genius that is responsible for bringing a person closer to his or her primary beauty in the moral realm. Practical wisdom helps a person to be happy. Practical wisdom guides a person in choosing between right and wrong. Aristotle believed that practical wisdom as the highest intellectual virtue. Phronesis is the complicated interactions between general or theory and practical or judgment. Aristotle is somehow saying that for one to attain chief good, the person must continually bring himself or herself to situation where his or her mettle and skill may be tested. So Aristotle is implying that in order to achieve the highest good, a person must constantly expose himself or herself to situation that will put his or her mettle and skill to be tested. Aristotle argues that everything has a purpose or goal and that the purpose is always to attain some good. The chief good for humanity is that the purpose for which all human action is performed. Aristotle believes that the chief good for humans is eudaimonia, often translated as happiness. So, there are principles, virtues, and vices. So, this one. So, the principal virtues and vices. So, there is a mean or virtue, and there is excess or vice, and deficiency and vices. So, sa mean, na courage, so it means mental or moral strength to virtue or persevere and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. Ang exist niya rashness, so it means in a rash manner. Ang deficiency, cowardice, so lack of courage or firmness of purpose. So, second, moderation. Sa mean, ang virtue niya, moderation. So, it means calm or temperate. Ang exist, self-indulgence, excessive or unrestrained gratification of one's own appetites, desires, or whims. Ang insensibility, it means lacking sensory perception or ability to react. And the third mean is liberality, the quality or state of being liberal. And exists prodigality. Prodigality, so it means yielding abundantly. Yielding abundantly. And the deficiency, meanness, is to have in the mind as a purpose. So, and the fourth is the magnificence. It means the quality or state of being magnificent. And the exist is vulgarity. It means that the quality or state of being vulgar. And the deficiency, it means inferior or trashy. And the 5 mean is proper pride. Means a reasonable and justifiable feeling of being worthwhile or self-respect. And exists vanity, so inflated pride in oneself or one appearance or conceit. Ang smallness of soul, sa deficiency, it means claiming less than one is worth. And the next mean is the proper ambition. Proper ambition means strong desire for advancement. And the ambitiousness for exists, eagerly desirous of achieving or obtaining success, power, wealth, a specific goal, or etc. And the lack of ambition it means have sa deficiency, it means having little desire for success or achievement. So next mean is or virtue, good temper. It means it's not easily angered or upset. And the exist for good temper is irascibility. It means marked by hot temper and easily provoked anger. And the deficiency of good temper is lack of spirit. So it means lacking energy or enthusiasm. So next mean is truthfulness. Truthfulness, it means the fact of being true or truth. And the exist of truthfulness is boastfulness. It means given to or marked by boasting. And the deficiency of truthfulness is self-depreciation. It means it's not just telling yourself you are awful. And next is wittiness. It means the quality or condition is being amusingly clever. And the exist of wittiness is buffoonery, behavior that is ridiculous but amusing. And the deficiency for wittiness is boorishness, rudeness of manner due to insensitiveness to others' feelings and unwillingness to be agreeable. And the next mean is friendliness. It means the quality of being friendly or affability. And the exist for friendliness is obsequiousness. It means obedience or attentive to an excessive or servile degree. And the deficiency for friendliness is shoreliness, a disposition to exhibit controlled anger. And the next mean is modesty. It means the quality of being too proud or confident about yourself or your abilities. And the exist of modesty is bashfulness. It means socially shy. And the deficiency for modesty is shamelessness, having no shame. And the mean or virtue of proper indication. It means proper indication is moderation in one's tendency to feel pain at the good fortune of others or pleasure at their bad fortune. So, the excess of proper indication is envy. It means to feel unhappiness over the good fortune or someone and desire the same good fortune. And the deficiency of proper indication is malice. It means the intention or desire to do evil. And this is the principal virtues and vices. So, only a virtuous person can perform truly virtuous action because he or she is initially predisposed toward action. So, there are contemplation, and philosophical knowledge. So, for Aristotle, the main function of the intellectual virtues, namely phronesis and Sophia, are to aid human person in matter concerning moral choices and the attainment of knowledge of first principle or internal truths respectively. So, phronesis has no authority over Sophia, or the better part of our soul, but Sophia will study none of the things that makes a man happy. And if practical wisdom serve as a guide for action in everyday life, the act of contemplation is a pursuit of practical wisdom. So, prudence or practical wisdom guide us in the correct manner of action. This intellectual virtue, which is closely tied to the rational deliberations and choice necessary for the moral virtues, is the central focus of Aristotle's discussion of the intellectual virtues in the Ethics. So, contemplation is an act that can be loved for its own sake because it has no other aim than to reveal the most fundamental truth of existence. Aristotle ultimately concluded that contemplation is the highest human activity. According to him, happiness is the only end or good that we desire for its own sake, and it is for the sake of happiness that we desire all other end or goods. So, it must be remembered that human life engaged exclusively devoted to thought, it is most of the time engaged in action and practical matters. So according to Aristotle, the good life is the happy life as he believes. Happiness is an end in itself. In the Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle develops a theory on the good life, also known as eudaimonia for humans. Eudaimonia is perhaps best translated as flourishing or living well or doing well. For Aristotle, the contemplative knowledge of the good does not automatically translate to its performance being virtuous in the practical sense of still cultivated through practice and habit. Living well means having the complementary disposition of intellect conduct and the thirst for philosophical wisdom. Aristotle considers the morality is not merely of knowing the good but actually doing or practicing the good habitually. We become what we are by what we do, and not merely but what we know. For him, we can only fully actualize our potential as human beings once we understand what being human essentially aims to, and to do the necessary things to fulfill our function is the most excellent way possible. And thank you for listening. Don't hesitate to ask any questions. So thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.
Is this the